Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today, I'm back. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Hopefully everyone's doing well, practicing self-care, doing the next right thing, building themselves up, not letting one thought, one situation, one person, or anything get inside of their mind to distract them from becoming the best possible version of themselves. And I know exactly 68 people did that since my last video, because that's how many people walked in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done. And a lot of people on this list were debating on whether they should reschedule, telling themselves they can't do it. They let other programs or other people or other situations tell them that they weren't able to do exactly what they knew what they were supposed to do, or just continue to build themselves up, not let anything get inside of their mind, execute, be so consistent that it kills. And they are as follows: Andrea B, Andy H, Jasmine M, Kiswana A, Chantel J, Brittany R, Katie H, Valeria M, Caitlin A, Kimberly J, Jamie G, Jesse C, Renee B, Charlotte B, Harmony H, Ashley R, Karan S, Carrie B, Shalila F, Karma A, Kelly D, Rachel D, Judy Y, Kelsey A, Latrice W, Elizabeth P, Marianne P F, Rihanna D, Ashley S, Angela L, Kim K, Roxy T, Charles C, Delaverine M, Nicole W, Mary K, Cassandra B, Keisha C, Monica D, Shanice B, Sarah R, Keith M, Corey H, Jason M, Tracy C, Claudia R, Brittany M, Melanie T, Melissa C, Janaya G, Lauren H, Joey P, AJ, Veronica P, Connie F, Eliza M, Carla K, Holly F, Ashley U, Rachel L, Margita K, Nalajalam S, Lacey M, Sarah C, AJ B, Melanie O, Ariana D, and Billy N. I'm so excited, man, because so many people on that list were like, Phil, I'm not even sure if I can get the job done. I'm not sure if what I'm doing is correct. People have told me that I need to change things about myself. People are telling me I'm not good enough. Environments and situations beating people down, threatening their jobs, and all these different things. But people winning the exam kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that is repping and rocking with me. If you've passed your exam and you want me to share your name as well, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And the easiest way to be able to rep and rock with me, because I get it all the time, Phil, how can I rep and rock with you? What does that particularly look like? What does this situation be? Well, the easiest way to do that are my Sunday study groups, because it's the easiest way to get information as well as practice questions, because a lot of study groups just go over content. They aren't really sure what the practice questions look like after that you go to the sessions. Well, we review practice questions as well as not just memorizing things, but being able to recognize and apply them in a way that makes sense for you. And the next Sunday study groups are as follows: 12.5 practice questions. So we're going to be going over the 5-step process that I recommend people utilize to break down the questions, as well as go through difficult practice questions. And I always say it, but people don't think that I'm serious until we actually get into the session. Do not come into the session expecting to get every single question correct, because the way that I write my questions, yes, I write every single question that we review, are built in a way to make you not get distracted, not go with the buzzwords, not generalize, but stay within the questions in order to become the best possible version of yourself. 12.12, research, program development, and evaluation. So going over the steps of research, the steps of program development, the steps of program evaluation, and going through different practice questions related to that. 12.19, human developmental theory, so going over some of the theories, as well as practice questions related to that. And again, we're not going to be memorizing anything. We're going to be identifying ways to recognize and apply the information, so that way when you go into the exam, it's not that you're generalizing, but you're able to go in there, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. 12.26, the day after Christmas, where you are going to be going over the meds and DSM-5. So we'll be going over the different classes of medications, applying it to the disorders that are often associated with those, as well as the first session of the new year will be 1/2/2022, which is acronym and practice questions. So January 2nd, 2022 is going to be acronym and practice questions, where we're going over each level of the acronym, applying it to different practice questions. And again, do not come into the session expecting to get every single thing correct, because the way that I write my questions are in a way to make sure that you're not just memorizing, not just generalizing, not going with buzzwords, not going with all these different things, but being able to break down the questions of what's there, what your client need, and going through the different ways to be able to go through that. If you want any information related to those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description, which is the view more option under the title. And if you're like, Phil, I want to go to these Sunday study groups, but I'm not available on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time, what do I do? Well, it's 100% possible to get the recording and the materials from the session. So if you're not able to attend live, you can review it at your own leisure. The best way to be able to do that is to register for the session as if you were going to attend live, because it adds your name to the email list, as well as for you to get the materials to review at your own leisure. And if you're wondering, I do still offer individual tutoring, but my calendar is still hairy and needs a haircut, because my schedule is still booking out 3 to 4 weeks in advance. Regardless of how many slots that I open up, it tends to fill up. So if your exam is sooner than 3 to 4 weeks out, you can send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. I can add you to the tutoring waiting list. But an alternative that is also as beneficial is to get the one-day course recording, because it's the most information and exposure that you can get with me, not directly, because the individual tutoring schedule is pretty packed, and the next one-day course is going to be a little bit further out, but not 100% impossible to attend. So if you want any information related to that, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description. It'll lead you to my calendar and allow for you to be able to sign up, as well as, I kind of alluded to this already, but my next one-day course is going to be on December 18th. I know a lot of times people are like, man, what's the one-day course? I've heard a lot about it. It has been the most successful thing that I've done, because it allows for you to get as much exposure as you possibly can to me breaking down difficult topics, as well as getting exposure to difficult practice questions, not to memorize, not to generalize, but to be able to go into the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. So the next one-day course is going to be on December 18th from 11 a.m. Eastern time until whenever they kick us out. And I say whenever they kick us out because if you've ever been in a study group mine before, I don't really end on time, I'd guess, and then it tends to go longer rather than shorter. So my time frame that it typically is 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then it goes until the content normally like 9 p.m. Eastern time, 9:30 or maybe 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then after the session, there's a question and answer segment where you're able to directly interact with me with any questions or concerns that you particularly have. And if you're like, man, what's the one-day course? The one-day course is where I go over the tips that I find most helpful for people to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest. I go over most common reasons why people fail, because the easiest way to not make the same mistakes as people that have failed is to review them and identify ways for you to be able to recognize and apply the information when you see them, as well as breaking down a handful of topics: subpoena versus court order. We're going to be going over community organizing, operant conditioning, the medications, different diagnosis, the personality disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, the differences between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 disorder, the acronym, going over the 5-step process that I recommend people to utilize when going into the side of the exam to kick it directly in the chest, and then topping it all together with difficult practice questions. But as I stated for the 12-5, as well as the 1-2 2022 session, these questions tend to be very, very difficult. So do not come into the session trying to affirm of, am I ready or not for the exam, but come into the session with an open mind in order for you to gain the skills and abilities and knowledges and techniques that you need to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. Because as I stated, a lot of times people are wondering, man, am I doing this correctly, or am I doing it incorrect, or man, I didn't get as many questions that I want correct in your session. That's 100% okay. And as I stated for the Sunday study groups, it's 100% possible to get the recording, so you do not have to attend the session at all or live, but make sure that you register so that way it puts your name on the email list in order to get the recording and materials to review at your own leisure. Any questions that you have related to those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description, because it'll send you to my calendar. And For those that do not know, Audible has continued to partner with me on both my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. And when you sign up for the 30-day free trial, that's how you're able to help me out. It costs you absolutely nothing. So that's an easy way to be able to help me, and it helps you get a free book as well. And if you're like, man, I'm not even really sure what Audible is an easy way to get information and knowledge on the go. So if you're busy just like me and you still want to become the best possible version of yourself, Audible is an easy way to be able to do that, as well as if you find it difficult to get information based on reading and you're an auditory learner similar to myself, well then Audible is going to be the best possible way for you to get the information as well, based on the fact that it gives you information in an audio form. So again, if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. And if you're like, man, I don't want to type all that in, click the link down below in the description. It's the View More under the title. And if you're like, I want to sign up and help you out, what book should I get? There are a couple that I would recommend, and they are as follows: The Alchemist, The Archer, Traumatized, and Outliers. Each of them have different lessons that can help you progress both personally and professionally, because this exam is oftentimes also a personal journey to help you become the best possible version of yourself as well. And if you want to do me a favor, hit the like button down below, because it helps other amazing social workers just like you find my videos as well. Drop a comment down below about whether this has been helpful, or if you've been rapping and rocking with me and you've passed, or just something positive, because I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely read the comments, and that helps me to continue pushing and growing to be the best possible version of myself. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification after it as well, because it'll send you an email every time that I upload a video, as well as if you haven't already or you didn't know, I have a podcast as well. So search for Fill in the Gaps on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify, and you'll be able to get additional information and resources from me. And as I always say, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. And I'm not leaving you just yet, because there's something that's been going through my mind that a lot of people have been struggling with, and I want to allude to it, and I want to definitely drop what's been going through my mind and thoughts related to it, because I've been hearing it more and more each day that goes by. Phil, should I reschedule my test? Or Phil, should I take the exam? It's been X amount of time. Or this person's telling me I need more information. Or I'm telling myself I need more information. What should I particularly do? I'm not really sure where I should go. What do I need to do? My biggest thing is always to provide yourself grace. Because a lot of times people get lost in the race of getting close to their goal. They want to get done as fast as they possibly can. They want to feel pressure. They want to get their heart rate up. They want to do all these different things, but they're too focused on what they need to do in the race that they're not giving themselves grace for the things that they've already done while getting to the place that they want to be. Because a lot of times we're only focused on what it takes to get to a particular goal, not where have we come from, or what are the things that I need to give myself more time or grace related to. Because maybe your friend talked to you about a topic that you have no clue about. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself is not to beat up on yourself for not knowing, but give yourself credit for even recognizing that it could be an area of growth, putting focus on that if you feel it's needed, and then allowing for yourself to have time to get the information and growth that you need. Because a lot of us don't know everything. I don't know everything. It's impossible to be 100% everything to everyone. So if you're struggling to prioritize yourself or self-care or studying while all these different factors around you are occurring and happening, something you need to ask yourself is, do I need to recalibrate? Do I need to realign myself in order to meet the circumstances that I'm experiencing today? Not what I thought I'd be experiencing 3 months ago, not what I thought I would be experiencing 2 weeks ago, but what are things that I need to do inside my mind in order to give myself grace, not get lost in the rat race of getting this exam done. And it doesn't matter if your friend has passed it sooner than you have, or you haven't passed it in the timeline that you thought, because no one on this planet is able to control 100% of the things that they are doing at every given moment. So we do the best in order to identify what we think will happen, but what the problem occurs, or what causes a problem to occur, is the expectation that we have of where we should be at X amount of time overshines all the exterior factors of what we are currently experiencing around us. Because a lot of us have things going on outside of the current situation that we're focusing on. Some of us may have family issues. Some of us may have financial issues. Some of us may have job issues. Some of us may have relationship type issues. Some of us may have grief, loss, death, sickness, all these different factors outside of our minds, but we're only focused on the fact that we haven't accomplished everything that we thought that we would accomplish up to this moment. So that's what I'm talking about, is you have to start focusing on grace. And I apologize for not getting this video around Thanksgiving, but that video topic was going to be around the things of what things can you be thankful for? What are things that you could be grateful for in order to allow for yourself to give yourself credit, no longer beat up on yourself, no longer compare yourself to other individuals or who you thought you would be because you had to go through what you went through to get to where you are now in order for you to be who you are today. But way too many times, we want to focus so much about the end result or so much about the finish line, so much about getting licensed that we forget who we are and what we need and what are the things that we particularly need to do in order to become the best possible version of ourselves. So that's what I'm talking about, is way too many times we start becoming impressionistic or we start giving up who we are in order trusting things that we don't even believe actually we should be doing. And I hear all the time, Phil, should I get X amount of program even though I don't learn based on reading? 100% not. You should not get a book if you do not learn by reading. You should not get an auditory program if you don't learn by listening. Based on the fact that you need to make sure that you trust yourself more than you trust somebody else that's trying to sell you something, that's trying to take something from you, or that's trying to influence you when they, darn well that you shouldn't be doing any of the things that these people are telling you to do. So that's my push for you, is no longer focus on the results that you need to do, but focus on what you need to do in order to stay focused and locked and loaded on what you decided to do at the end of the day. Because if you're wanting to reschedule, you're wanting to back down from what you told yourself you wanted from yourself, that is the biggest thing that you could do to destroy everything you ever wanted, because consistency kills 100% of the days. You don't have to be perfect, but as long as you are trying, you will be further along than the person that does it in a spurt, does it in a spurt, does it in a spurt. I'll do it for 2 weeks and then give up. I'll do it for 3 weeks and give up. You should have gave up at the first day because you knew darn well you weren't going to execute on the level that you knew you needed to. And I'm not trying to deter anybody from trying something, but what I'm trying to deter you from is to stop preventing yourself from getting where you want to go based on you expecting more out of yourself than you've been given or the opportunities you've been chosen to participate in. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that you need to do is run your own race. And what your race needs to look like is to be great at who you are or what you need to do, not let one thought, one situation, one person, or anybody outside of what you know to be true, even yourself, tell you what you are capable of. If it's a negative thought, it is going to breed a negative result, because I always say it, negative thoughts, negative vibes, negative results. Never let one thought, one situation, one person, or anything stop you from what you know you need to be doing. Because that's what gratitude, that's what being thankful is. That's what practicing grace is. And you're more willing to give people grace for what they've done. You're more willing to forgive people for mistreating you than you are to treat yourself correctly the first time. You're more willing to allow for somebody to do something negative, say something negative, and absorb that as your character than you are to build yourself up and say one positive thing about yourself. So that's my push. Do not let one thought, one situation, one person, or anything, even yourself, take you outside of being able to go to the exam, to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. So that is my push, to give yourself credit, to let go of where you thought you would be, and embrace who you are. Because you're amazing, you're gifted, you're talented, and you will get to where you need to be. It may not be on your timeline. It may not be in the way that you thought it would occur. But at the end of the day, you're going to be given the situations, opportunities, and gifts that you need at the given moment to execute on the level that you know you need to be doing. And that's the biggest thing. Surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with the right materials, and surrounding yourself with the right mindset that you need to bring into this. Because even if you're the most gifted and talented individual, if you don't execute or consistently do something, you will lose. You will lose yourself, you will lose your opportunities, and you will lose who you thought you would be, even though you know that you are in a different situation than you automatically were previously, but you're not who you wanted to be at that given moment. You were who you thought other people wanted you to be, or you were somebody that you didn't even want to be, but you thought other people would accept you, and they haven't accepted you. Now you're not willing to accept yourself. So hopefully that was helpful for everybody. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you need anything at any capacity, send me an email. I'm BERDA24@gmail.com. I hope to see you in the Sunday study groups. Hope to see you in individual tutoring. Hope to see you in the one-day course. Hope to see you in the free study group that's going to be happening next Saturday. So if you made it this far in the video, you have a one-up on everyone that hasn't. And it's my pleasure to be able to help. And as I said at the beginning of the year, I made a promise to you guys that I would do a one-day course every single month. I would do a free study group every single month. And I've done that, and I will continue to give as much as I can to you guys, because from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, every single one of you guys. I'll see you guys in the next videos, and peace out, guys. Kathy James here. Ready? I passed my exam.
Hey, okay, I'm Kathy. Can you hear me good?
Yeah. How's it going?
Okay, good. It's good to hear your voice after so long. Wow. Still have all that encouragement. So I don't know. I was just thinking, so the what I could say that would benefit everyone on this call would be the first time I took it, I did not pass. I missed it by, I can't remember. It was annoying, but anyway, I had taken a study class and I don't know. I wasn't ready for the way those questions were presented. And so I found Phil through a friend on Therapists at Rock, and I got the APGAR book, the Dawn APGAR book. I recommend both. Those are both good. And I went through a lot of questions, and basically I did, I know financially this could be, not everyone, it just depends on what you can afford to do, but I did the 1 hour sessions with Phil by myself because I really need to break it down and just go over some specific questions. And that was really, really, really helpful for me. And so he helped me learn how to take the questions. And had I not done that, between him and God and a lot of prayer, I passed. And I passed by, I think, like 14 questions the second time. I had like over 14 that I could have missed. So I recommend that. This group thing is great, but if you can show a little bit of cash and do some 1 hours with him, I think that's awesome too, because it was really helpful for me. It's just you and him. And then I took the ASWB practice exam, and we went over that together too. And so I don't know, I would not have passed the exam without doing that with Phil. Absolutely, hands down, would not have passed it. That and a whole lot of prayer, because I had no idea about those questions, and he helped me learn how to break them down, how to understand what they were asking. So when I got into the test the second time, it was so different than the first time. So I absolutely recommend that to anyone. And if you can get a little more personalization, personal time with him like that for an hour and pay his rate, it's so worth it. I absolutely would not have passed. And I know that 100%. So good luck to all of y'all. And another thing too is being really positive. And one thing Bill said to me before I took it was, if you think you can break that door down, you can break the door down. And if you can't, if you don't think you can, then you can't. So having a positive attitude, but also being ready. I mean, he helps you understand those questions, and he knows them. He knows them backwards and forwards on how they're gonna ask it. It's not the material, it's how they're gonna present it. I knew the material, but it was how are they gonna ask you? Because some of the questions feel like they are trying to trick you and weed you out, which obviously they are, because we're billing insurance, right? And so they have to be careful. So I got a great job at a clinic I wanted to work at within, like, I don't know, 2 weeks of passing, which is a total God thing too. So, and I've got it's a clinic that I would have dreamed to go work for. So I'm extremely grateful. And I hope that helps anyone there, but absolutely put the money and time into with Phil, because I wouldn't have passed it. And I can tell you all that. So good luck to all of y'all. We need more social workers. It's a hard time for people right now out there with COVID and stress and anxiety. So thank you, Phil. And thank you he's so encouraging, y'all. He's so encouraging and so good and keeps it real. So I hope that helps all of y'all.
And I know you're kind of in a rush, but could you talk a little bit about what it was like when you were like, yo, I'm going to grab you up by the neck. I'm so mad that you're trying to get me to not pass this thing by giving me tricky questions. What was the switch like for you?
Well, you helped me a lot with that, actually, because I would get kind of frustrated with Phil, but frustrated with the material itself. And so I'd be like, well, that's not how I learned it. And that's not how we did it. And at my last job. And, and it was like, and so, I think I just realized like I think they're just trying to weed out people that don't need to be billing insurance and practicing at that level. It's kind of what I think, but it's like, and also that like they weren't trying to trick me. It's just they're expecting a certain level of performance on that test. And so when I kind of could go into it that way and kind of calm down, because some of it goes against everything I learned in the field and in school. Like I would be like, this is not how we did it. And so you kind of have to like relearn. For me, I had to completely kind of retrain my brain to think a totally different way. And is that what you're asking me? I had that when that switch flipped, I got calmer and I could kind of understand.
Okay. So it's like you kind of had to be open to the process and not being like, yup, this is totally against me and I already know everything. Why is this exam telling me I'm wrong?
Exactly. And I don't know everything. Obviously, we're all learning. And like so I thought I knew it. It wasn't the knowledge, it was the way they present the questions to apply the knowledge. That's what I needed to learn how to do, was how do I apply the knowledge that I already know to these questions. And once you can do that, then you're calmer and you understand it. But in the beginning, yeah, I was very frustrated. I was like, I know this and I feel like they're tricking me and this is not right. And it made me mad. So, because some of those questions are really, really hard and there's thousands of them and you don't know which one you're going to get on your test. So if you can just get the basic format from Phil on how to apply it, no matter how they ask it, then it's going to be a breeze for you, hands down. I mean, hands down.
And if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's like, yo, I'm doing what I normally would have done. I want to rescue everybody in social work. I have my cape on. That's what they told me I needed to do. What is one piece of advice you would give somebody that is in that place that could take them where you were when you were more accepting?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So Phil helped me a lot with that too. He helps you with the material, but the mental part of it too. So, you can't on the test, you absolutely cannot rescue people. You cannot, you'll get these vignettes and you'll feel like that. Well, of course that's what you would have done, but no, it's like you have to back up and rethink it and be like, it's almost like you're detaching from the knowledge and applying that question. Like you got to take the personal, emotional part out of it. Like it's a test question. And you can't, I was wanting to put on my cape and rush in there and rescue everybody in every single question. And I missed all of those. I would miss every single one of them. I'd be like, well, that person's suicidal. What's going to happen to them? But you can't. You have to back up and be like, I would say take the emotion out of it.
Go Phil! Go Phil!
Turner, my husband, my husband like loves Phil. He helped me so much. Y'all have no idea. Like I wouldn't have passed that test. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That test was. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But with Phil, it is possible. So if y'all will commit the time, you don't even want to know how many study sessions I have with him. So I just wanted to make sure I knew. I'm sort of, yeah, very thorough. But and I would get frustrated. I'd be like, Phil, that's not right. That's not right. You would save somebody. And no, you cannot go into that test thinking you're going to save people, because that's not what they're looking for at all. And so you just got to put in the time. Like I just put in the time with him, y'all. You have no idea how much time I put in with him trying to understand these questions. And so I hope that helps, y'all. Yeah. And then I had a lot left over. Like I really did well on it the second time. And then got my dream job. So, got my dream job.
How many months did you dedicated to study the whole thing?
Oh, from the time when I didn't pass it the first time, I literally sat there and cried. And the lady told me I had to go because I could not believe I didn't pass it. I was in shock. I studied, well, COVID hit, so that changed a lot of stuff, but I studied for about 8 months before I was ready. And I was scared, and Phil kept saying, you got to go on and do it. And I was scared to take it because of the first time what happened, because I really couldn't believe I didn't pass it the first time. I was in shock. I sat there and they said, ma'am, you got to go. You can't sit here anymore. Like, I couldn't believe it. So 8 months. But that's me, though. Not everybody's going to need that much time. Some people are just going to be able to probably do it shorter, but I just wanted to make sure I really understood those questions and how they were going to ask them.
Thank you for sharing, because I haven't decided when to sign up for the exam. I need to start studying, so I don't know how much time I should leave to start studying before I actually take the test.
Yeah, I wouldn't rush yourself too much. I think you'll know when you're comfortable. And like I said, you know, I got to a place where Phil was like, I think you're ready. And when I took the ASWB practice exam, whatever your state offers, I'm in Arkansas, that gave me a pretty good indication too of where I was at, because I passed that. So that's another thing too. Take your state exam they offer that you can take as a practice, like on the clinical website.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to share?
Just how instrumental you were, and if y'all can afford to do any, like I was like, I'm gonna put it in my budget, because I gotta do some individual sessions with him, because I was really scared. And so, you know, the group is great too, but I just needed, you know, it was, I guess, just y'all like really commit to Phil and letting him help you, because he will. And every question is going to be asked different on that exam. But if you understand the basic format of what they're saying, then you'll pass your exam. And so I freeze up in clinical exams, and I don't do well on like those kind of standardized tests, you know. So if I can do that, then all of y'all can too. But I'm going to tell you, I would not have done it without Phil and of course God. So Phil was instrumental, and I just can't tell y'all that enough, that like if I had not studied with him, I would not have passed that exam. Absolutely would not have. Okay. And the way he presents the material, it makes it where my brain can understand it, like, okay, this is why they're saying this. So it's just practice. We practiced a lot of questions.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming back. If you need anything at any point in time, just let me know.
I will.
Like I said, it's my pleasure to be able to help, and just keep rocking it, you know, and keep believing in yourself to get to where you want to go.
Yep. Good luck. Thanks. All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye now.
Okay. Bye.
Hey, Phil, here to share my experience.
Hey, Phil. It's Emily. How are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
You know what? So dang good. Thanks for asking. So I kind of just wanted to share my experience about what I went through and what happened to me on my journey. So I live in Utah. I took the clinical test. We have the choice of taking the advanced generalist or the clinical, and I chose the clinical so that I didn't have to test again at the end of my hours. So I graduated from grad school the end of December, and I knew that I was going to absolutely pass that test. I knew the information, I had it, and I took it, and I completely bombed it. So completely bummed out, but to save the day, everybody told me what I needed to do to pass it again. So I spent tons and tons of money on different programs, different tests, different apps. I did everything that everybody told me to do. And COVID hit, so I had a few extra months to study. And then I went in to take the test the end of July. And again, I bombed it. And I was super, super disappointed, because I did everything everybody told me to do. They told me to study. They told me to answer the question. If it gives you this answer, always pick, explore the next options. They told me everything that I could have possibly done. And so I was completely frustrated. I came home. I questioned what I was doing in my career. I questioned if I should even take the test again. And I grabbed a bottle of wine, got in the tub, and started watching YouTube videos. And luckily, one of Phil's videos came up. It must have been in my algorithm. And I think that was kind of my saving grace, because I emailed Phil and said, hey, you have this 4-hour or 6-hour study group. Should I take it? I need some advice of what to do. And honestly, you guys, the best advice that I ever got from anyone, he said, I don't know, what works for you? What's going to help you pass this test? What do you need to do? What are your goals? And it really hit me like a ton of bricks, because that's the foundation of social work, right? A client doesn't come into our office and say, hey, how to fix all my problems? And we say, okay, quit doing this and this and this, and quit hitting your kids, and your life will be perfect, right? That's not how it works. We help them to find the goals to get where they're at. Phil helped. So every Sunday, I did this study group, and I was 100% committed to it. Actually, that's a lie. I did every Sunday, but I watched it every Monday morning, because Sundays nights is with my family, and I needed to be with my family. So every Monday morning, I would go in for 3 or 4 hours, watch the videos. I would read over the material, and then every day thereafter for the rest of the week, I would study the material. And that was super, super helpful for me. I think one thing for everybody to remember, if you take anything from this, you know this material. Grad school is super, super hard, and all of you got through it. You know this. So how do you apply those questions when you go in and sit down? How do you believe in yourself and really say, dang it, I've got this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to be a dang good social worker, because that's what I went to school for. Phil helped me to do that by honestly believing in myself, reviewing tons and tons of information. And again, I knew the information, but the review was great. But breaking down those questions was the biggest piece of it for me to learn. Read through it again, really read the answers. You guys have got this. You do.
I mean, if somebody came to you and was like, yo, I have a ton of materials, I'm not really sure what to do, my friends keep giving me all of this and people keep telling me this is what I need, what was it like to make that switch of, yo, this person's asking me what works best for me, I'm not sure, how do I even start? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, that has happened multiple times in my job. But I've said, go check out Phil on YouTube, honestly, and don't get overwhelmed. When somebody brings you material to study for the test, it's usually a book or a binder that's this big. And then for me, I got super overwhelmed. I wouldn't study any of it. And I gave up. So I tell everybody, watch these videos, because it's super easy to watch a 30-minute video, right? Like, we all watch at least an hour of entertainment tonight. So just watching one YouTube video is pretty easy. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, that's okay. So anything else that you feel like you want to tell somebody that is getting ready to take the test, or they have failed the test and are like, crap, I'm not even sure what to do?
I think above anything else, believe in yourself. Believe that you can do this. This is a super hard test, but again, grad school is super, super hard. But use Phil, shoot him emails, go to his study groups, answer questions. Like, he is so great about answering or going through questions, spending time just answering any questions. I mean, there were some nights that it went on until midnight, and that was Central Time, not even my time. So I think just using him as a resource, that was one of my biggest complaints about some of the other programs was, here's an audio version, just listen to it and you'll pass the test. Well, I'm not a robot. I'm not like everybody else. That's not how I learn. So find what works for you and really apply that information.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming back and sharing your experience. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all the support. And if you need anything in the future, just let me know.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Erika Sandova here to support LCSW.
Hi.
How's
So
it going?
great.
How's it going?
It's amazing. It's amazing. This feeling is amazing, guys. You're all going to feel it. I'm telling you, you really are. This is an incredible feeling. It's a hard journey. I have to share. It definitely is a hard journey. I have been, so I just took my exam September 23rd and I passed it. And it was my clinical exam. I'm from New York City. I'm from Astoria, Queens. So I went into New Jersey and sat with a mask on for 4 hours and passed this exam. Like, let me tell you, this was a roller coaster ride. I said this to my friends. I said this to my family. A roller coaster ride for so many reasons. I've experienced so much grief and trauma because I failed it once. And I'm one of 3 social workers in my family. So think of the pressure, right? So I'm the oldest of 3 social workers. I'm the first one to graduate. I graduated from NYU, which is a clinical school. And this is what I said to Phil. I remember my first email to him and he totally checked me and put me in my place. And he really centered me and really made me think about things differently. I'm also the president of National Association of Social Work in New York City. And so I was feeling some kind of way because I did not have my clinical license. And as a president, how can I just stand there with those letters next to me? And everyone around me had PhDs and LCSWs and all these great, amazing credentials. So I had a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so I was practicing at a clinic for 7 years and I was at a hospital for 7 years. So I've been in the field for quite some time. And then fast forward, during COVID, I'm in a nonprofit. The nonprofit's not doing well. And I'm the second in command of the nonprofit. And my CEO says, "Hey, Erika, things are not looking good." I said, "All right, so what are we going to do?" And she's like, "Well, we're going to have to let people go." As soon as she said that, I knew that I might be one of them. 2 people were let go, unfortunately, was really sad. And then as soon as that came to life, something just clicked in me and said, all the fears that you have had in taking this exam, because you failed it once, you're going to have to put it to the side and you're going to have to center and hunker down and think about what it is that you want. And so in the past year, because I failed it last year in 2019, I had planned to take the exam 4 times. I canceled it 4 times. And then the 5th time, I was about to walk in to take the exam. The night before, I decided I'm not going. And I climbed in bed and I said, I'm not going. This is so much anxiety, so much stress. I just climbed in bed and I said, yeah, I'm not going. I forfeited the payment. And I felt like this relief of just stress and anxiety, just because I've been studying for almost a year and I just rescheduled it 4 times and then didn't show up the 5th. And so that's part of my journey. And so fast forward, COVID hits, pandemic hits, now all the centers are closed. You don't have access to go in to take the exam. Testing sites are no longer available. Now you know that your job might be on the line and you're thinking, wait a minute, I should have done this when I did it. You put all these things in your head. I started studying. I've studied with TDC. I've studied with other incredible tutors as well. I don't want to mention anyone's names, but I've done a lot. Stop it, Phil. I've done a lot of work on this. And so I decided, you know what, there's something that's missing. I just need to kind of figure it out. What is it? What is it? I need to go in there. I need to really go inside and just really think about what is it that's missing for me. And I've just been seeing all these LinkedIn like posts coming up of all these people holding their passing, when you pass, you get a printout and it says pass, it has your picture on it and it has your score. And people have been posting it on LinkedIn and they were saying, thank you to fill in the gaps. Thank you to fill in the gaps. And I've heard of fill in the gaps. I heard of Phil about a year ago. And I'm like, oh, I don't know who Phil is. I'm just going to stick with my New York City peeps, And so, and I was like, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to try and see what this guy's about. So I started watching his YouTubes and my test was September 23rd. And I started watching his YouTubes in August. And everyone's like, in my family, like, what are you doing? I blare it on my TV, just watch it, watch it, watch it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to email him. I'm just going to take that first step and I'm just going to email him. So I emailed him and I said, Phil, I think I emailed you last year, but I never took your course. I really need to pass this exam because especially because I just became the president of NASW and I just need to get my license. And his reply was, it was like amazing. He, you know, when he got back to me, he's like, you want to pass it because you want to pass it, not because you're putting all this pressure on yourself to pass it. Like something like, it's not about anyone else, it's about you. And so that really put me in check. And I said, you're right. I just put so much pressure on myself, so much anxiety, everything you can imagine, all these thoughts, these ideas of how you identify if you don't have this credential, and if and the difference between LMSWs and LCSWs. And in all honesty, I think we're all really incredible social workers. It's just that these letters identify us on how much we should be getting paid, what jobs we should be obtaining. It's really sad. It's really sad that we have to live in this this system, because I think a lot of things should change and we all should be paid equitably. So, but that's another conversation. Fast forward, Phil and I started, he invited me to a couple of groups and I said, can I get a tutoring session with you? And he's like, I don't have anything for like 2 months. And I was like, uh-oh, my test is September 23rd. And I'm emailing him on like the 1st of September or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, let me know if there's any cancellations. And as soon as there was a cancellation, he emailed me. I was going into his study groups and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting all the questions wrong. While I was studying with TDC, I was getting all the questions right. While I was studying with my tutor, I was getting all the questions right. When I started studying with Phil, I was getting the questions wrong. And I started freaking out. I was like, this is crazy. Why am I getting these questions wrong? And so I said, okay, I need to do a tutoring session with Phil. So I booked 2 tutoring sessions with him, and he had a wait list. I got in and it was great. And as soon as I got in, we did 5 questions, each of those 5 questions. I got all of the questions wrong the first tutoring session. The second tutoring session, I think I got 4 of the questions, or 3 of them wrong and 2 of them right. And my test was 3 days after that final tutoring session. So it was stressful because I was practicing and I was studying. I was studying for like 3 months, on and off for a year. And what I decided to do is I said, Phil, what do you think I should do? Do you think I should cancel? Do you think I should reschedule and take some more courses? Just get different testing materials, get some more questions. And he said, unless you are in the hospital, unless you are unable to function, unless you have like this neurological sense of being that you can't think or move or speak, or you should not be canceling your exam. You should go in there and thinking about how prepared you are, because you got this, because you got 2 questions right. And your thought process after this, you didn't allow your wrong answers to defeat you, and you got them right. So I'm not focused on the 8 questions you got wrong. I'm focused on the 2 questions you got right and how you got there. So how did you get there? Think of how you got there. And I said, all right, I'll let you know if I decide to cancel it or reschedule it. And I just grounded myself and I remembered those words and I said, all right, how did I get there? How did I get to answer those questions? I had to put all my thoughts, all my beliefs. I had to take those beliefs that you had in your head, the limiting beliefs, and you had to check yourself. I checked myself. I had to clear the space and the clutter in my mind. I had to ensure I had to give positive mantras to myself constantly, in confident talking, like just really, really just knowing. I was writing my name with LCSW all over my apartment, just little Post-its. I shared with a few people that were really close to me that I was passing the exam, and they, oh, this is interesting. So I knew that I was going to probably be let go from my job. So I applied to a fellowship in a psychoanalytic psychodynamic institute, training institute, and I was accepted. And in the interview, they said, we really only accept PhDs and LCSWs. And I said to them, well, I'm going to have my LCSW September 23rd. And I applied in the summer, and they hired me. So they were all expecting that. I didn't even think about that. I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm not going to cancel it again. I'm not going to let my fear get to me. There's no way. No way. I'm going to show up. Show up. That's the number one thing that you need to do to pass. Show up. And you show up strong. You show up with like just this feeling of fierceness, of knowing that you're going to conquer this, like you're going to slay it. Even if it's 1 point, it doesn't matter because you passed it. So you just show up. So I walked in, showed up, mask on. The day before, this is what I did. Don't put so much pressure on yourself the day before. Don't study till like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Don't do that to yourself. Give yourself a break. Take the 4-hour test at ASWB, because that's the most accurate test to the test that you're taking. Practice with that maybe 1 or 2 days before. Put the mask on your face. If you're taking it during this time, sit in the space at the same time that you're taking the exam. Create that whole visual for yourself. Put the mask on. It's 8 a.m. Be at your desk on the computer at 8 a.m. Put that clock on, because the last time I took the exam and I failed it, I did not have my clock on. I was just like, oh, I have all the time in the world, and then you have 20 minutes to go and you have all these questions you didn't answer. Keep the clock on, time yourself, pace yourself, and just get through the practice. Then take your time to have a nice dinner, talk with your family. Just try to take that anxiety and put it at least to the side for just a couple of days. Just try. I know it's going to be so hard, but you honestly have to talk yourself through it. You really, really do. It's the anxiety, it's the fear, it's the trauma. If you failed it before, you know what I'm talking about. Like that fear of failing, like you feel like you are literally gasping for air and you can't believe it just happened to you. And then when you go in, you just try to focus and maintain. As soon as you start feeling that fear, like, oh my God, I don't think I know this answer. Oh no, this is not good. I'm going to totally fail. Check yourself. Have something in your mind, like have a mantra, walk away to the bathroom, do some whatever it is that you need to do. I practice Qigong. I had someone help me with test anxiety as well. And I went into the bathroom and I did some breathing really quickly because I didn't want to take too much time. Went back and I'm like, all right, new Erika, not the Erika that felt defeated, not the Erika that had all these negative self-talk in her head. The Erika that's going to slay it, the Erika that's going to be okay. Because as soon as you start getting anxious and you start rereading the question, changing your answers, going backwards, not really reading and just picking your answers and forgetting everything that you were taught, everything that Phil is teaching you, it all makes sense. It really, really does. You can work, you can use your TDC, you can use other questions, you can use all that, but think of how he guides you. Think of the process. It's not right or wrong answer. It's the way you read the question and it's the way you get there. I walked out, passed it. I was in tears. I was crying. I felt like it was the biggest roller coaster ride. It was the hardest thing I did for myself because I had to get through the fear, the anxiety, the canceling, the not showing up, and a lot of people knew about it. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want to cancel it again because I wanted to show up. And so I really, I set myself up to really keep myself accountable. So number one thing, have faith in yourself, have faith in the process that Phil is teaching you, because it all makes sense and it works. It really, really does. I told Phil that he is helping so many people. This really worked. I got 8 questions wrong before I got 2 right with Phil. And I took my test 3 days later and I passed it because I thought of the process and how I got there. Why did I get that question wrong? And I went back and I thought about it. And it's really about the way you're reading it. It's the process. It's the way he teaches. It's the groups, the community care that he has around. Like all of you together right now, you're all some body of energy that is providing more energy to each other. Like me being here today, it's a Saturday, I could be anywhere, but I'd rather be here with all of you because I know you're going to slay it. And I know what it feels like to be where you are. And you're totally going to be doing this podcast next time because you're going to pass the exam. So I mean, I can't even tell you, this is a lot. It's a lot. And I'm really proud of all of you because you're here right now. So you're already showing up. So just make sure you show up that day, but with confidence and fearless. That's what it is. Because I walked in there like, I'm slaying you. And and then when I emailed Bill, I said I passed it, and I sent him a picture of myself and my test because it's you don't know. It doesn't mean if you fail, it doesn't mean that you're not an incredible clinician. It just means that you didn't pass the exam. That's all it is. There's no meaning to it except that you didn't do well on a test. It doesn't define you. So remember that. So take the time to honor yourself, to believe in yourself, to be fearless, to give yourself permission to have anxiety, but then to check it and use that anxiety for the best. And know your limits. I know, Phil, you asked one of my peers here that how, what was the difference? So in the learning styles, I just want to share like really quickly. I am an auditory learner, and I'm also a learner that does it. That needs to do it and learn at the same time. And so I can't read and memorize. Like that's not who I am. So there's a lot of different ways to learn. And so learn your learning style. Know what that is. So Phil's classes, because I was able to attend his group classes, I would listen to him and I would take notes, even though the notes were printed out and there for us. I would take some notes, write them down anyway, because as I'm writing them, I'm absorbing it as I'm listening to him. And the tricks that he has in remembering certain things, they're so helpful. Like I remembered things that I probably would have not remembered if it wasn't for Phil. And I had his voice in my head. He's like, bad moves, bad vibes. And I was like, that's not the answer. So really, just give yourself that opportunity because you go rogue sometimes. Like as you're taking the exam, you go rogue. You just like forget everything you're taught and you're thinking, I got this question, but then if you don't follow the acronyms, and they're not always going to be exactly what they are. So, and Phil shares that with you, that there are some moments that it's not going to be what he's sharing, what he's teaching, but just writing them down and knowing it, I would read, I would look at the question and I would look at the acronyms, and when I was rechecking it, if it didn't follow it, I knew that wasn't the right answer before I selected the answer.
And thank you so much for coming back and sharing from the bottom of my heart. I know I can always say all the advices and stuff, but I think it means so much more from people coming back and saying what worked for them specifically.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much. Good luck because you're all going to slay it. Just stay with it and show up.
It is my pleasure. And if you need anything, just let me know. And I'll try my best to help out.
Amazing. Congrats to all of you for in advance just showing up and doing what you're going to do. You're going to pass it.
Any tips on what people should write on the whiteboard as reminders before starting the test? This is going to be very, very tricky, and I think it's very difficult to like generalize. However, I always tell people if you're going to use the whiteboard, to utilize it in your preparation, because the biggest thing that people try to do is they try to change what they're going to do inside of the exam when they haven't practiced it outside of the exam. So for those that know, you get a whiteboard or a scrap sheet in the exam. So these are things that you put on there are things that you're not going to want to forget. So if you're repping and rocking with the acronym, safety, feelings, assess, refer, educate, advocate, facilitate, and intervene, that could be something that you want to write down if it is something that is going to be a visual cue for you to be like, yep, I need to remember this. Or if you're somebody that's more active in that tactile learner in visual as well, you're going to want to break down the questions like you've prepared for in your preparation. So if you're somebody that's repping with a 5-step process, you're going to want to break down the question. What are the details in that question that can lead you to the answer? And that is going to be the important part. Is a lot of times people sleep on the whiteboard or the scrap sheet because they're like, I ain't got the time for that. But if you're practicing it outside of the exam, when you walk into the exam, it's going to be second nature. Or if you're practicing with it, walking into the exam, going rogue, going away from your process, going away from what you knew to be true, then you're kind of almost changing your process. So you shouldn't have done it in the practice sessions anyhow. Making sure that whiteboard is something that is of a tool for you and not a detriment or something that is actually wasting space on the side. Also, you can write down positive affirmations or things that can reset you. Some people like to rep and rock with like maybe some diagnosis. Some people just like putting the positive affirmation, or things that I've said like quick review or just bad moves, bad vibes. Anything that you want to put on that whiteboard needs to be something that you can utilize and mobilize in the exam. So it's hard for me to generalize what in particular you should put on a whiteboard of yours. However, if you're going to utilize the whiteboard, or whatever you put on the whiteboard needs to be things that you have rehearsed or practiced outside of the exam. Because I would hate for you to walk into the exam, start dribbling and putting a whole bunch of stuff on this whiteboard, exhausting your mental energy, because we only have so much mental energy at our capacity. So you don't want to exhaust yourself prior to walking into the exam and then having to go through 170 questions after doing so. So making sure that you're able to use this whiteboard as a tool and not something that is like a chore to you and taken away from your ability to be able to navigate the exam in a way that you need to know. So anything that you put on that whiteboard needs to be something that you've either practiced or something that you have previously identified prior to walking into the exam, to make sure it's a benefit and not a detriment to your process. I was supposed to take the exam today, but I changed the date because I felt I wasn't prepared. Is there a different way to prepare for this exam?
That was me, Phil. I just felt I'm one of those that, I study and study and study. And then when it's time to actually sit down to the exam, it seems like I forget everything. I get over anxious. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just feel like I'm just not remembering anything. And I'm going to show you, these are my study notes. Every last one of these are study notes. And I know it, but then when I'm sitting down to answer the question, it's like everything's coming to mind. And it's like, Ginny, you know this, but then when I get there, it's like, I don't know if I'm just drawing a blank. Am I just having an anxiety attack? And it's just something I feel I just need to get over so I can just focus on what I need to focus and answer the question, because I feel like I know the answer, but then it's just all of a sudden I'm feeling overwhelmed.
So let me ask you 2 questions. First question, do you think you can pass this thing?
I definitely do.
Okay. And then my second question, kind of a feeder question, what is the only thing that can dictate whether you actually pass?
I think me. It dictates if I'm just, if I'm just gonna just let go of my fear and just do it.
What if I told you that was the incorrect answer?
Oh, that would suck.
And I don't mean to tell you that you're wrong, so don't take that disrespectfully, but if I ask 100 people that same question, what is the only thing that can dictate whether you pass or fail the exam? They inevitably say, I am the main thing that can dictate whether I pass or fail the exam. That is incorrect, because the only thing that can dictate whether you pass the exam is the actual exam.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me say that again. The only thing that can dictate whether you pass or fail is the actual exam. It's not anything that you study. It's not anything that you do. It's not how you dress that day. It's not how tall you are. It's not how much you weigh. It's not how much you read. It's not how much you listened. It's the only thing is the 170 questions you see that day. You could give a presentation on Freudian theory, the defense mechanisms, the diagnosis, the acronym, how to break down a question, but unless you walk inside of and see 170 questions that resonates with you and you navigate them in the most appropriate manner, you're not going to pass the exam. What do you think about that?
I'm like in awe. So, I just think that I've heard so many people, and I actually saw this on one of your videos. I've heard so many people talk about how many times they've taken the exam and they failed the exam. As a matter of fact, I have a girlfriend of mine that called me last week and said, Gina, I've taken this exam 5 times and I failed it. And I'm like, and I keep telling her, don't worry about it. It's just an exam. But then here I am worrying about it, And so I agree with you that the exam is just, the 170 questions at that point in time. But I think I just want to get to the point where I just don't feel so over anxious about it.
And I think it comes with letting go of what this exam means. And what I mean by that is way too many times people are willing, like you said, I'm willing to tell my friends, it's not a big deal, yo. It's just an exam. Don't let it conquer you. But then behind closed doors, you're like, oh my God, this exam is going to kill me and this and that. And it's like, do not overthink the process and the fact that you could have so many materials that you fill up your house based on the fact that your friend gives you this, you get this other thing, you cash out this other material, you heard about this method, you're watching this video, and that is what is causing your angst to come alive, is because you have 5 different approaches and 5 different methodologies and doing all these different things that you don't even know what actually works for you, but as long as you have it in your backpack, you feel good. And then you're telling people it's not a big deal, but you're projecting that out into the world because you want them to tell you the same thing, but no one can tell you anything that you don't actually feel or know to be true. So the only way to get into wanting to be pumped up and motivated in passing this thing is like having a realistic expectation of, yes, there's a chance that I can pass this thing, but there's an equal chance of failing this thing. So regardless if you study or do not study, there's a 50-50 chance of you passing or failing the exam. Why? Because there's only 2 options. I guess there's a third one if you don't show up, but the way that you need to shift your mind is, I can know everything, but it's okay not to know everything, and that's okay. And I may have previous attempts under my belt, but this is my first time taking this exam because I've never seen this set of questions. So I need to get the excitement back within my mind that this is my first time. This is going to lead me to all my goals. I've not lost anything because I'm exactly where I need to be at this moment, because nothing is ever a mistake. I need to have faith as much as I'm telling people to have faith in themselves. So I need to dig deep down inside of me and say, I can do this regardless of anything that has happened to me before or anything that'll happen in my future. But the only moment that matters is this one, and I need to burn all the extra materials and burn all the extra approaches and techniques and start living and telling people, yo, you may be afraid of the exam. I'm afraid of the exam too, and normalizing that. Way too many times people are like, I need to be comfortable and confident and pumped up and excited 100% of the time, because if I show any sign of vulnerability, it shows that I may feel like I can fail the exam. But you need to feel like you can fail the exam in order to get motivated and pumped up to actually walk in and pass the thing, because the darkest moments breed the brightest moments. The darkest moments in our life breed the brightest moments. But if we do not acknowledge the darkness in our lives, we're not going to be able to appreciate how light feels in our life. So do not have an uphill battle with yourself. However, view the battle of battling up a hill as I'm progressing. And even though I walked in and failed, I have not lost anything, because it's not what I do that makes me who I am. It's who I am while doing that task that is going to define whether I can succeed or regress from this moment.
Right. I agree with that. Thank you.
So that is where you have to shift, and it's okay not to feel okay. I can't say it enough. It's okay not to feel okay, but it's not okay for you to give up on yourself or not feel like you can be your true self based on an exam.
I agree with that. Thank you.
And it's my pleasure to be able to help. And if you need anything in the process, please reach out, because I feel way too many times people are like, man, I already have everything that I need, but you may have everything that you think you need. However, you may have things that are actually hurting you rather than helping you progress and building you up.
Right.
And that's where you need to recognize what you need in your process, not what your friend says that you need, not that a salesperson that is fronting as a social worker says that you need, but something that you deep down in your heart say, I need this to feel better. And it may not be 100% needed, but we buy things all the time in our life that we don't actually need, but it makes me feel good and comfortable in the moment. So I'm going to do this, but make sure it's not taken away from your future and it's actually progressing you further. So taking a break from studying can actually help you pass the exam more so than putting your head in the book or blowing your eardrums out from listening to things so much. So taking a break and is allowing you to be the best possible version of yourself. So get out of that productivity mindset and start getting into the mindset of what does Gina need to progress into the best possible social worker and subsequently licensed social worker.
Thank you. I have to say I agree with that because, knowing that I was supposed to take my exam today and I rescheduled it for January, I was like, Gina, because even my aunt always told me, she said, Gina, you put too much pressure on yourself. Take a break. And so I think this last week, I did not look at any material because honestly, I didn't look at the material, but I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about how to apply it, just making sure I can recall the information that I need to recall. But I realized after I took the break this week, I didn't feel so anxious. I didn't have all that anxiety built up in me. And, I was going to, when I saw this opportunity come up to do the study group, I said, because I've watched a lot of your videos, I said, I'm just going to sit and, see how other people have the approach to how they're going to, focus on the exam and actually just take a step back and just kind of breathe about it.
And that's the biggest thing is it's okay to do what you feel is right. But I can picture you're somebody that's willing to give everyone else everything. But when it comes to you, you're like, I can't invest in myself in any way, shape, or form.
Do you know my aunt? You've been talking to my aunt.
No. What?
I said, you've been talking to my aunt.
No, I have not.
I'm going to call my aunt and you've been talking to Phil, haven't you?
But I can feel your heart. Your heart is saying, yo, I can build everyone else up. I can do everything for everyone else. But when it comes to you, you're like, man, I got to take the most resistance path to get myself through what I feel that I need to get through. And there's no gap and there's no barriers. It's just a stone that you have to roll to the side to get to the best possible version of yourself. You can do this. You can totally do this. And this is what a lot of social workers don't talk about is what do the dark moments look like? Because when you're pouring so much into other people, you are taken away from yourself. But if you're not pouring back into yourself, you are then going to become drained. And when you become drained, your ability to hold energy is going to go down, because when you're not using something, you lose the capability to get that. So it takes a great amount of effort to get back to where you once were than if you were maintaining it over time. Such as a car. If you don't get an oil change on the car, it'll go for a little while, but after that baby blows up, it's going to take a lot of effort
Yeah.
to get that baby running. I don't know if you've ever pushed a car or not, but that baby ain't light. So those would be my recommendations: is quit running from who you actually are going to be. It's not that you're not putting enough effort in. We just need to make sure the effort you're putting in isn't getting poured into a jar that has a hole in it that is slowly dripping out. So that way it's taken away from what you should be doing, when if you poured it into the right jar, aka utilize the right materials, you'd get to the result a lot quicker.
I agree with that. Thank you.
And it's my pleasure to be able to help. And if you need anything, just let me know.
I promise I will.